So this past Sunday, we saw what was billed as one of the greatest Super Bowl matchups, especially QB matchups that we anticipated in recent years in the NFL. It turned out to be a not so competitive matchup. We already know what happened. The Buccaneers absolutely took advantage of the Chiefs' depleted offensive line. That led to a 31-9 final score. And after that, a lot of people kind of took a step back and started looking at the overall picture of Brady's career after he won his seventh ring. And the question on a lot of people's minds is, where does this rank him in the hierarchy of total sports figures? We know that he's kind of cemented his position as the best or the greatest quarterback to ever play in the NFL. A lot of people feel that he's the greatest overall player in the NFL. I think that argument can be a little biased just because of the position that he plays. But now a lot of people are asking whether or not he might be the GOAT of team sports, whether or not he surpassed Michael Jordan, the Wayne Gretzky's of the world, whether or not he deserves his face on the Mount Rushmore of team sports in general. And where does this leave him? I think if you were to ask me, I might be a little biased, but I've been saying this I thought he was the best quarterback to ever play ever since I saw the comeback against the Seattle Seahawks defense in Super Bowl 49. And then I was totally on board of, hey, maybe Tom Brady's the greatest player the NFL has ever seen, and possibly one of the greats, if not the greatest, in team sports after the Super Bowl 51 comeback against Atlanta. No one had ever seen anything like that, much less in the big stage. And for me, I think he might be up there. And that's saying a lot. You know, you've had a lot of terrific athletes, a lot of terrific players, a lot of terrific leaders in the history of the various professional leagues in North American sports. But for me, what really sets Tom apart isn't his physical dominance over the sport. We know that he's not a physical specimen. We know that his athletic abilities have never been his strength, his forte. For me, I think it's a combination of leadership, determination, preparation, and just overall production on the field. He knows what his role is as the team's quarterback. He knows what his limitations are in terms of, like I just mentioned, his physical abilities. But I think he's made the game so cerebral, and he's made his position. First of all, he's played this game well into his 40s, which is something that we've never seen before in the NFL, much less at that position. The injury rate is 100% in the NFL, so it's always a matter of how long can he keep this going. But he's knocked down he's beat every accomplishment that there is. He owns every record for the position that there is, especially in the postseason. We've never seen a serial winner like Tom Brady, and I think this year in Tampa Bay, you really got to see Tom Brady at his best. A lot of people wanted to discredit him because of the success that he had paired with Bill Belichick. A lot of people wanted to discredit him because of the franchise that he was a part of, the dynastic New England Patriots. A lot of people wanted to say that Tom Brady was a system quarterback, that he benefited from the coaching, from the players around him. And all of that is true to an extent, but I think people are forgetting about what makes Tom Brady great, and that's the intangibles. It's not, like I said, his overall skill set, which is obviously elite and has been for the last 10 years, but the intangibles, his leadership, his desire to win, his love for the game, his drive to just be better every single day, every single year. And I think this year, like I was saying, in Tampa Bay, you got to see everything that makes him great come to the forefront. No Bill Belichick, no offseason, no preseason, no OTAs, no real sense or grasp of the type of system that Bruce Arians likes to run. We know it's a high octane offense, something that Tom Brady hasn't necessarily been deployed in for several years now in New England. And we saw that slowly. I think a lot of people thought that Tampa Bay was going to come out of the gate strong, win 12, 13, maybe 14 games. But I think those of us with realistic expectations knew that wasn't going to happen. And slowly you saw the team come together. You saw Tom's imprint on the offense, and then you started seeing Tom's imprint on other other aspects of the team, the recruiting of new players, the impact on the defense, the preparation, the showing guys how to put in that extra work, those extra reps after practice. And I think you saw them flourish because they had confidence in Tom Brady, because they had confidence in the offense, because they had confidence in the system. He built that confidence and instilled it within each player on both sides of the ball, like I said. And it's like the LeBron effect in the NBA. You want to play with someone who is at the top of their game, someone who gives you the best chance to win championships. And I think that's what Tom Brady is in the NFL. So not only did he just cement himself as one of the as the GOAT of team sports, no one in the NFL, not even any franchise, has more championships than he does. My man's been playing for 21 years. I think he established himself not only as the GOAT of team sports, but he also kind of showed that a lot of people were giving Bill Belichick a little bit more credit than maybe he deserved as a team builder. You know, he's still an excellent head coach. He's still the one that drafted and developed Brady to a certain extent. But I think you see Bill Belichick's flaws as a team builder and how Tom Brady was able to make up over them, paper over them with his Patriot way, which is the Tom Brady way. And like I said, and I think this year in Tampa and him winning the championship, especially the way that they won in that Super Bowl, I think it goes to show that, you know, Tom Brady has now become almost a larger than life figure, and his mere presence in an organization attracts better players and just brings the best out of the players that are already there.
The goat of all goats in all team sports.
I think that this is, I would say yes, because a lot of the aspects of his career are unprecedented. Like I said, no franchise in the NFL has won as many Super Bowls as this one player has in 21 years. We've seen the comebacks. We've seen him be explosive. We've seen him put up record-breaking numbers. We've seen him defer to better players. We've seen a full metamorphosis from his early career where he was mainly a game manager type of quarterback. He would just hand the ball off, take checkdowns, really a vanilla offense. Then we saw him kind of get a little bit more confident, develop as just your typical under center passer. They started opening up the offense. And then he started doing things with what people called lesser receivers, the Deion Branches of the world, the David Givens of the world, the Christian Fouriers of the world, the J.R. Redmonds of the world. And then once he got that elite piece of talent on offense, we saw him just explode with Randy Moss. Then we saw him play in the dual tight end system with Rob Gronkowski, Aaron Hernandez. We saw him do it with two-bit players. We saw him with Wes Welker. So I think he's kind of shown the full spectrum of his skill and his ability to orchestrate and direct an offense in various systems. I think Tom Brady is the system. Like I said, we've seen the comebacks, we've seen the record-breaking numbers, we've seen the blowout wins, we've seen the championships, we've seen it all. On the biggest stages, Tom Brady always seems to deliver. And so I think at this point, there's never been a player like him in the NFL. And I'd argue to say that there's never been a winner like him in any team sport. And very, very few athletes can say that they've had an influence close to or similar to Tom Brady's on a franchise, on a sports franchise. Michael Jordan comes to mind, Wayne Gretzky comes to mind, and I hate to say it, but LeBron James comes to mind. And yet here he is, Tom Brady, about to turn 44 years old this year, hoisting his 7th Lombardi trophy in his first year with his new team, new teammates, new system, new coach, new everything. No OTAs, no preseason. Just get out there and produce. And like I told you before the playoffs started, I think after that bye week and the 4 weeks they had to close out the season, that was when you really saw the team gel. And I think Tom had a lot to do with that. I think the offense had a lot to do with that.
I'm actually not quite ready to give into that debate that Tom Brady's the GOAT of all GOATs, just because I feel like the impact that, as you know, football is the biggest team sport there is with 50-man rosters and then players exclusively playing on offense and defense and special teams. So I think different players can have different impacts and the whole team as a whole, has to gel in order for a team to win. So it's very hard to give one player that credit, although it is the most important position on the field. Whereas I think in other sports, like if you look at hockey or even basketball, players like LeBron James, players like Michael Jordan get a lot more credit for their team success because they can impact the game in a lot of different ways. Whereas they can, of course, leadership that's comparable to Tom Brady. There's no question about that. Motivation, getting all the troops ready, and then of course offensively, that's comparable. And then I think where it lacks is defensively, where you play both sides of the ball. I think you can get a lot more credit for that compared to when you only play one side of the ball. So you can't fully get credit for the whole team's success And although you've won 7 Super Bowls, which is more than Michael Jordan and definitely more than LeBron James, on that side, I can't really quite give you that full credit for your team's success when you were only one of the 53, albeit you were the most important of those 53. And whereas I feel like Michael Jordan and LeBron James have way, way more impact, and that's just what NBA players can do. It's just it has nothing to. I'm not taking anything. It's just the way the sports are. It's not nothing
The
that Tom
nature of the
Brady.
sport, yeah.
Exactly. It's not like nothing that Tom Brady can do. He's going to start playing running back and just going to start playing wide receiver and then some other
Thrown to
positions.
himself.
Exactly. Like that's
Tom
just not
Brady at
going
middle
to.
linebacker.
Exactly. So that's just not going to happen. And like the impact like those players have had, like such as Michael Jordan, like the impact he's had on basketball as a whole to grow the brand of basketball. He was pretty much NBA at the time he was playing. He was the reason NBA was so successful because people came to watch Michael Jordan. And similarly, it's been similar
Hmm.
things with LeBron James. Like last year, LeBron James wasn't in the playoffs. We saw all the ratings drop for all the playoff games, and this previous season, he was, and they won. Lakers won the championship. We saw the ratings jump back up because those are the well-known names, and those are synonymous with basketball. And although Tom Brady is synonymous with football, but I wouldn't say if Tom Brady didn't play football or he wasn't, a National Football League wouldn't be as successful as it is. Whereas I think it's easier to say that for something like basketball, where I think if Michael Jordan didn't play in the NBA, I don't think basketball or NBA as a league would as be as successful and well known as it is. When you think about basketball, you think about Michael Jordan, LeBron James, and players like that. When you think about football,
Kobe.
you do think about Kobe too. Yes, yeah, that's definitely it too. Um, but whereas I think all the at the same I just it's just very difficult for me overall, I think, to be able to put him as a goat of all goats. He's definitely the goat of football, I don't think there's very little disagreement that you're going to get from any football analyst or any football fan at this point of his career.
About
But
time.
about time for who?
About time for people in general.
About
I've
time
been
for
saying this for the past 5 years, 6 years.
Alright guys, thank you so much for watching the Bill and Pablo Show, and for more fun content like this, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Keep watching the Bill and Pablo Show.